Today we're going to show you how to change the hinge assembly on your refrigerator. Really easy job. All we're going to need is a 5/16 nut driver and a Phillips screwdriver. Let me show you how it's done. In preparation for this repair, there's two things we'll want to do. First of all, we'll empty the shelves on the door because we're going to end up removing this door to do the repair. And secondly, we'll turn the refrigerator off so that we don't have fans running while the door is off. Next, we need to remove the cover for the top hinge. There's one Phillips screw holding that in place. Next, we'll remove the two 5/16 hex head screws that hold the top hinge in place. Next, we'll lift the door off and put it on a suitable work surface so that we can change the cam on the bottom. Now with the door on a solid work surface, our next step will be to remove the screw that holds the cam to the bottom of the door. The first thing we'll do is we'll loosen the center screw of the door stop and we'll remove the screw that is closest to the corner. Pivot the door stop out of the way and remove the bottom door closing cam. Let's just slide the new one into place. Reinsert the 5/16 hex head screw. Before we tighten it, we want to make sure that it lines up perfectly with the recessed hole in the bottom of the door. And then tighten those two screws. Now that we have the lower cam installed, our next job will be to replace the lower hinge. Now to replace the lower hinge assembly, you may want to remove the kick plate as we have done so. Just gives you a little better access to these two 5/16 hex head screws. I'm going to remove both of those. Remove the lower hinge assembly. Make sure we hang on to that shim. Take our new hinge, line up one of the bolts through the hinge and through the shim. Start it by hand to make sure we don't cross thread it. Next, we'll line up the second screw. Just make sure the hinge stays straight. Tighten these two screws firmly. And you may want to add a little bit of food-based grease on this lower hinge. Thinking of the right word here. Before we reinstall the door, we may want to add a little bit of food grade grease or Vaseline to this lower hinge pin. and we're ready to reinstall the door. Now that we've replaced the parts, we're ready to reinstall the door on the refrigerator. Set the door on lower hinge pin, rotate it into place, let the gasket hold it there. Insert the top hinge into the door. Locate the holes for the two 5/16 hex head screws. Start those by hand. We won't tighten these up completely until we check the alignment of the door. Make sure the gap is even top to bottom between the freezer and fresh food door, and level across the top, and that we have an even spacing along the side. Tighten those two screws up firmly. We're ready to reinstall the hinge cover. Check the operation of the door, and our repair is complete.